coordinating the whole advisory for this, so please pay attention. I've got a lot of things to say in a short time. So I'd be grateful for your attention and your input. If we can't entertain all the comments now, I would really value all your input afterwards, whether it's by email later. Please take notes if something strikes you in the meantime. Basically my portfolio is resource development for the department, and so I'm very interested in what you have to say. In my view, I'm actually here to facilitate your development of resources in your department, in your region of the world, because we're here to serve the world field, so we need to work together. I have to tell you something about myself before I carry on. This will possibly be my last advisory presentation ever for stewardship, because my husband and I are leaving to go back home to South Africa on permanent return. So I think I will always have stewardship in my heart, but I don't really know what the future holds. I have a mother who's elderly and she has Alzheimer's, and we've been trying to manage it long distance for the longest time now, but I can't do that anymore. I've run out of options on that side, and I'm going home to be with her in her last years. So thank you, Benita, for your encouragement. I spoke to Benita once and she said, "You won't regret it," and that's kept me going. I think it was because of my mother that I have any kind of spirituality in my heart anyway, so how can I not minister to her in her time of need? Andre will carry on with his work for Adventist Review TV, ARTV, on contract from there, and Bill Knott has offered me some work, which I'll tell you about later when I talk about contextualization. They're hoping to start a Africa edition of the Adventist World. So I'll be collecting contextualized content for that. I hope to also write a stewardship advisory. I'm not stewardship advisory, a stewardship devotional. So, I mean, I've been in stewardship for almost 7 years now. I've absorbed so much from all the many mentors I've had. And I just think I'm a writer at heart, and I need to spew that all out. And I noticed on our website we've borrowed testimony material from SPD actually to put in our daily devotional, but I think we can do better. Not that the testimonies aren't good, but we need to have a more pointed daily devotional for stewardship, so I'll do that. I'm also a trained pastor, so I'm secretly hoping to get back into the ministry, the church pastoral ministry, which I feel I'm gifted for and I love doing. And in Southern Africa Union, we now have 10 women in the ministry, full-time paid women in the ministry. So don't let them tell you Africa is the one that's holding that back. Okay. So in terms of resources, the first thing I want to talk about is branding. Branding is a deep topic. We seem to be making a little bit of a shift, but it need not necessarily mean old with the out with the old and in with the new. It might mean a merging, a combination. We all know that, well, I don't know if you know that, I think it was Ben Maxon who was doodling during a meeting one day, during a stewardship meeting, and he was doodling and drawing, and he drew this crown. And it was obviously picturing the theology he had in his head. And this is where the crowns come from. Maybe Elder Rodriguez, I don't know if you know a different story. Mario, if you know a different story. It's that one? Okay. So Ben Maxon is the author of the crowns. And I'm sure Dr. Rodriguez told you a little bit about it. But these are the little bookmarks we hand out with the crowns to explain what it's about. Now, this doesn't go nearly as deep as Ben Maxon's explanation, but it does bring it down to colloquial level. And then the My All in Response to God's All was something we all doodled in the first advisory I ever attended in March 2011. And I think that really described the theology that went forward with Erika's leadership. And I think it's quite profound, actually. I do feel that the symbols we use describe the theology that underpins our practice. If we've possibly moved, as Elder Prestal said, we've moved from one understanding of how stewardship should be done in the field to another one. And I differ with him a little bit in terms of what his understanding of its value is. I feel that what we've done until now, in the last number of terms, is build a foundation, a theological foundation for stewardship. And I don't think we could, I don't think, Marcus, I wish you would listen to me so you can comment. I think what we're doing now is very pragmatic, very practical, and it's aimed at a behavioral level. I'm not saying that what we're doing now doesn't have a theological basis. I think it does, and I know Marcus is a man of prayer and devotion like I haven't seen in many before. So I'm fully supportive of what he's doing. And just to digress a little bit, we had a little bit of a discussion on the percentage or the proportion. To me, as Elder Rentley actually said, I think it was you, or was it you, that it actually becomes just a matter of semantics in the end, and we may all be agreeing. We just come from different frameworks, ways that we think, and I don't want that to become a distraction from the real value that this thing has. Later on, when I talk about contextualized resources, I think it's very important that we understand how fair this percentage-based offering system is. If you get to cultures, Elder Rentley, ECD, my home division, we have people thinking, how can the church ask people to give money when we've got nothing? And then the only way we can explain this is through the whole percentage system, that it's fair. God is fair. So I think let's not be distracted by semantics. Let's grasp hold of this percentage-based offering thing because it works for a world field of a great variety of contexts. So I want to be fully supportive of that. Nevertheless, what I'm saying is that what went before was very much a theological foundation for what we're doing now in the field, which is more practical. So I think it's good. The direction we're going is good. It's in line with what the church needs at this point. So let's be supportive of it, but let's not forget where we came from. I know even Marcus is very appreciative of Ben Maxon's theology. It was somebody who introduced him to the whole concept of stewardship. So we're not throwing anything out that went before. Why am I talking about this when I'm talking about branding? I know that we tried for many years to get the field to use the crowns. And I can't tell you the joy it brings to my heart when I see your presentations and you've got the crown on it, because it was a struggle to get to that point. So we're forming an identity, and you spoke about identity. We need to know who we are, and when we get up and speak, the people listening to us need to know who we are and what we represent. So for better or for worse, this is what we have. Let's continue to use it because it creates an identity, and it's a beautiful message. Jesus is Lord, so I owe everything to him anyway. That's the kingly crown. Jesus is my Savior. I owe him all my gratitude. So you can see where tithe and offerings fit in there. You can see where all these lovely, beautiful theological concepts come from. Don't leave theology out of your stewardship preaching and practice, because that's where the wow factor is. We talk about the generosity factor, but when you explain the great themes of God to people, that's where the wow factor comes from, and that's where their hearts open. So don't leave that out. Okay. The newer phase we're coming to is to do with the more practical aspect of teaching stewardship in the field. And how do we do that? We say God first. And that's a wonderful blanket statement. So you will be seeing more and more of this. You see it we've tried to marry the two on the shirts. We've got the crowns and we've got God first. And we actually wanted to make pins that say God first as well, with these colors. But we still have the crowns, and I really love them. They're actually very pretty. Even as a woman, I like to wear it, even just as a brooch. And it's a fantastic conversation starter. People say, "What's that?" Because it's a little bit enigmatic, but it's pretty, and people ask about it. So wear your crowns wherever you go, and start a conversation with people. But don't abandon the crowns to use this. You can combine them. Then the other thing we have to say is to do with the church's branding. The GC has tried very hard to explain why they've changed slightly, very slightly, the church's logo and the fonts that go with that. And we really need to support them because they've put a lot of research into this. We need to somehow marry the crowns with the church's logo and this with the church's logo wherever we are. Whatever we do, we need to make sure that people know this is Adventist stewardship. And there's good reason for that. Our stewardship really is a very unique message. There's a lot about Adventism that's unique. Stewardship's one of the reasons we're unique. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The DS. I mentioned that separately from all our other resources because it's really our little flagship thing that we put out. When I arrived here, Larry Evans was the editor. Well, he just started being the editor, and I assisted him. He fancied it as more of a journal, and he liked to get not entirely academic stuff in it, but almost. It was a really, really good platform for very high quality articles. We've got the DS online. If you go to our website, there's a special heading for magazine. Just click on that tab, and you have all. We'll go through the website soon. All the editions back to the very first one, which I think was it Claire Eva, or even no, it was Fulvia Klein, who I think did the very first one. If you look on that history chart, Fulvio is Falvo's brother. And Dr. Fowler, his daughter. She was the one who did the very first edition, and it was still in black and white, and it was a very small paper, but it's grown and grown. So at the moment, when we came together as a team, we took another look, we rebranded it slightly, and we also decided to make it aimed not so much only at educators, which Larry's editorship planned to do, but to make the articles more at a colloquial level and really be very practical. So I think we've achieved that. And do yourself a favor and read the articles. It's only a 16-page magazine, and it doesn't take very long to read. You can scan through them if that's all you have, but it helps you be on board with what we're thinking of over here, and it will also help you to contribute, to comment, to give your input on the way we're thinking. So please go ahead and look at it critically and help us as we continue with this magazine. We've gone online with it, so it reaches a far wider audience, I think, than we realize. Occasionally, we'll even get outside interest. Previously, when we did one on stewardship of the earth, we actually had the Humane Society, that's the Animal Welfare Society in America, order a whole lot of copies because they just felt it had such value, and they gave it out to all their people. So it can be a really good outreach tool. Then we've also got a newsletter of late. Hiskia and Janetta do the newsletter. And we really rely on you I'll go right to the website now if it'll show. It's not showing a double layer of things here on my screen. But you can go to the website, and it has a separate tab for the newsletter. We rely on the field to send in photos, and news of your events. You don't have to make a big production out of it. Just give us 2 sentences and some photos, and that will be great. It's lovely to keep in touch with what we're doing in the field. It also inspires us and gives us ideas. Yes, just like the DS, we ask you to send the DS to your unions and conferences and for them to send it to their local constituents also. Please do the same with the newsletter. Send it out to your people. We're a worldwide movement, and I think there's value more than we understand in the fact that we're worldwide. We need to learn from each other. Very often missions have gone one way, from a Western culture to other cultures. The West needs to learn from all the other cultures too. I think that's half the reason Jesus sent us into all the world. I don't think it was meant to be a one-way conversation. Right, so I'm just going to quickly show you some of our printed stuff, and then there's 1 copy of each. Like I said earlier this morning, if you've taken more than 1 copy of any item on the table, please put back because I put 1 for each participant here. With Janetta's help, and please go ahead and take 1 with you if you have space in your luggage. They are all represented online, so you don't have to take, but if you want, you can take 1 copy of each. If you need more of any particular item that you'd like to take with you now, Janetta has boxes of these things available, so please speak to her directly as soon as possible, because some of them are in the basement and she needs to put in a work order to have people go and fetch the boxes out of the basement because they're heavy. So just let her know as soon as possible if you want any of them. When I'm done here, hopefully you can have like a 5-minute break just to look at the resources and pick them up, or even after the whole thing ends at the end. But that may be too late to get them, Janetta. Okay, the strategic plan we don't have in stock. Okay, so let me just here. I think you probably know some of these things already because this is not the first time we've shown them to you. The It Really Is series of brochures are great for sermon starters, little nuggets of wisdom about what stewardship is, and it's the broad message, the holistic message of stewardship. They can be used on Stewardship Day in the church, a Stewardship Sabbath. You can put them in the pews for people to take home and read. This really we're quite proud of. All these presentations, 24 video seminars on stewardship, all kinds of aspects of stewardship. We did it in 2014. It was the first online conference that the GC ever did. We reached 83 countries, 5,000 logons from groups and individuals, and it was hugely successful. It was also interactive, so questions came in via social media and they were answered in the last section of of each seminar. So especially for people who call themselves a new kid on the block, David, or anyone else, Kier, you as well, use this.
They are very good.
They're fantastic.
Very good.
From stewardship of the environment, stewardship as worship, offerings, tithes, treasury perspectives, Mario's how to do stewardship in the local church, John Matthews' unique take on it, Larry Evans' theological perspective on stewardship, Ben Schoen, Ted Wilson, previous employees in the department, just some of the variety that we have on here, and they're online and free. Use them if you want to do stewardship training in your church also, or in local churches. Right, so just some, okay, and then we have the bookmarks, facts about Christian stewardship, and 10 tithing questions answered. They're also great for Stewardship Sabbath, something to share in small groups with the youth. You may have to do some explaining. These are the pin bookmarks. Don't give out the pins without giving the bookmark that goes with it. Promotional, we have the crowns and a lenticular ruler, and it's got our website details on the back, so something nice to give out to the young people. This was a set that was done before I arrived here, I think possibly even before Erika arrived, actually. I think John Matthews has pretty much done what's on here. It tells you where the offerings go. I want somebody to take this and I want to challenge them to make an updated version of it. The thing is with what John has done is it's contextualized for the North American personal giving plan. So we need to do a combined offering plan one, and we need to do a calendar of offerings one as well. Somebody take that challenge, please. We've got this in various forms, including a fridge magnet, because we collect the cards to count them. My dream was before I left to have each one of these to have a little 2-minute video. In fact, Flip TV has offered to do that for us. To do this whole process online, that you can actually do your promise online, and then we'll have an electronic record of that. But when you do it in the field and they're printed, they're collected. So this fridge magnet would be a reminder to give the people to take home and put it on the fridge or somewhere where they can see it every day and just remind them of their promise. Okay, the books, great for your church treasurers, even your church pastor. It is. It's very practical, very good. I think we have PDFs of most of these online. If you need printable ones, you need to get the original files from us. And especially if you're going to be translating them, you obviously need the original files. And we need to speak with Janetta and she'll get them to you. But if you just want to download them in electronic format and use them, they're there, all the books. This is Erika's collection of all his director's articles in the DS for over 10 years. So we put them all together in one book. Awesome stuff. We put a nice islander picture on the front because he's Samoan. And this is Ben Maxon's Get Normal. You got to read this one, and then you'll see why you need to use it. This is derived from the stewardship roots in a smaller form, tithing in the New Testament and the Christian church, tithing in the writings of Ellen White. It's great to hand out at ASI meetings, things like that. This is Brian Cluth's book. It's a devotional, a 7-week journey, spiritual journey to a more generous life. He's not an Adventist, but he allowed us to Adventize it. We agreed so much with his work that we felt we could use this book. He's a great guy. So wonderful for small groups. This is great for young people growing your life. Stewardship from the lives of Joseph and Jesus. Lovely book to read. This is actually John Matthews' book. He did a sermon competition, and I know people have been asking for the Stewardship Sabbath materials. We do have some online from Anil Bhatt from SID. Generally, we've allowed the divisions to do their own materials because we want contextual stuff. But here are some sermons, if you're looking for that. The best ones were published. This is something we've republished. They did it. It was called The Spirit of Sacrifice. Spirit of Sacrifice and Commitment. We changed it to Passion, Purpose, and Power. It's the stories of the pioneers. If you need to be inspired about stewardship, about giving everything, my all in response to God's all, this is the book. And young people can have it as bedtime stories. There's one other book I didn't grab. Stewardship Roots. This is a collection of 3 papers by our very own Dr. Angel Rodriguez. It was the 3 papers put in a big blue book. Do you remember? About A4 size. We thought it deserved a nicer cover. Do you like it? Okay. And I got the thing about having connections to South Africa is you can get things done cheaply. Guys, when you're doing your resources, you don't have to have them done in the I hardly do anything here because it's just too expensive. I farm it all out to cheaper countries So the designer was a guy from Kenya who I knew in South Africa, and he did a great job of it and did a good layout. So it's more like a book than an academic paper, but it's all still exactly the same original text.
If I can just say, if you haven't read that book, I encourage you to do so. That has been invaluable to me in my stewardship work.
It's really foundational. You should not be allowed to be in your position if you haven't read this book. No, it's just awesome.
Okay, short question.
Yes.
See, we have all this wonderful book.
Yes.
I said, as you said, that the printing cost here is very high.
Yes.
And whereas, do we have to get any? Suppose I want to multiply some of these books.
Please do.
As per,
Without
changing any name, without changing any format.
Yeah.
Just having a
Translation.
translation
Yeah.
or the same version to be printed somewhere.
Yes.
Because today technologies are
Yes.
so good, and like Council
Yeah.
on Stewardship
Yeah.
or this Spirit of the Pioneer.
Yeah.
Here it will cost something. I can print in my place within the range of $1,
Yes.
$1.2, not $11.
Directly,
So
you don't need to.
brilliant.
You don't need to say anything more. If you take one thing away from our presentation, one thing is that we want you to please translate, reproduce as it is in your regions. Please, they're all online. We'll give you all the open files, the design files, everything you need. The only thing we do not have permission to do that for is this, because it's not ours. Anything else you can do. Please do it.
Even then, I make lots of Xerox copy.
You can Xerox copy it,
I just
whatever you
just
like. You can take pictures of it, do whichever way you'd like to reproduce it. Just say it's from GC Stewardship Ministries. That's all we ask. Okay. What is the time? I still have a few. Okay, I've got 16 minutes. Our video. Okay, I have to go out of my PowerPoint so that you can see the video stuff on the other websites because it's not working. So we also have these video resources that I mentioned, plus many others. They're the video testimonies that we had from before I came here. Lots of them, little 5-minute testimonies that people used to use, I think, in church before the offering was collected. And we have now what we call just random videos. If we see somebody's recorded an interview from ANN or from Adventist Review or from the NAD or wherever, we just ask their permission and we put it on our website and on our app. Our app is full of videos, so please make use of those. And then social media. Marcos is he's not Donald Trump, but he's a real Twitter person. So that's what he has in common with Donald Trump. I'm afraid to say he's got at least 10,000 followers on Twitter in his personal account. So when he came in, I know he really has a vision which we've not fulfilled yet, but he really has a vision for social media and putting the stewardship message out right to everybody's phones, because that's where everyone is, and everyone, not just our stewardship educators, everyone, Adventists, non-Adventists, the whole world can get these messages through social media. So we'd love you to follow suit and make social media campaigns in your regions. You can do that in India. Everybody's got phones, and we know India's a very high-tech place. You may know it might be too expensive to print books, but you can go on social media.
Silicon Valley to 100 years back.
Yes,
Two cultures.
I know. I mean, in Africa, we skipped the whole PC generation. We went straight to the mobile phone, and we're there. So Africa's got the fastest growing mobile ownership rate. People have more than one cell phone each. And we just have to, and they're smartphones, we just have to be on those platforms. Okay, so for the apps, we've dealt with the e-giving at length. And we have a document which I will send to you. It's very rough at this point, but I've had inputs. Christina has done the majority of the input, and John Matthews in the middle of the night somewhere answered his emails and sent some contribution there. Okay, I think what I'll do is just go over the last slide that I have, my concerns and my hopes and dreams for resources in stewardship. And then we'll go to the website and quickly go through some of the tabs on the website so that you can see what we have there. So these are my real concerns. The first one is children's resources. I'm so glad to hear some people are focusing on children's resources. Very happy to hear that, because they are the future. Literally the only thing we have is this. This is an offering planner, a giving planner. It's a little pouch with a handle at the back. You can hang it at the back of a child's door, a bedroom door, or wherever they would see it. And the top pouch is, I give myself to Jesus. And there's a place for a little photograph to stick the photograph. It's very cheap to make. We can send you the artwork, but you can make your own. It's very easy. The next one is, I return God's tithe, 10%. The next pocket is, I give my offerings, and it has a little Bible verse to go with it. Then the fourth one, I mean, this is perfect, Mark, because this was made with you in mind, and they didn't even know it. The next one is project giving. It's like, if you want to give, once you've done your proper stewardship, then you can do further stewardship with project giving. Giving to the needy, or school projects, or whatever. This teaches a child to plan and to promise. So we have a little letter inside the first pouch for parents or for Sabbath school teachers. This really, really should be done in the whole world. Can't make it look nicer than ours. I don't think ours is the prettiest you could find. But please do that. I think we need to update the letter of explanation to match the promise concept.
In South American division, they have a children's stewardship magazine that's been going for 60 years. Patricia, who's our stewardship person in Great City Conference, speaks Portuguese, and so when she was over there, she's researched it. They do an English version, and we're able to license it from them at really cost-effective rates. So I don't know if there's anybody else it has characters and soft toys and videos.
Put us in touch.
It's amazing.
How you call it? That children stewardship program you have there.
Is it Little
Como
Friends?
se chama?
Show you.
Yes.
It's all those
Oh, yeah.
characters. So we didn't even know about this, but we can do, we could just start with one or two issues working
Yeah.
with our education directors.
Yeah.
We're planning to just start with just one conference
Okay.
and work with the children's ministries leaders and with our education department
Yeah.
and schools, so that we're not going big, we just test it. But yeah, they do a wonderful English version that we might need to change a couple of words, but
Wonderful.
yeah, beautiful stuff.
Thank you. Put us in touch. We might, want to capitalize on that. Just before I forget, John Matthews has just entered the room. He's the other one who's been a real leader in terms of children's resources. His wife actually was one of the people who took part in that online conference, and she's one of the people who has done a talk on why is it important to teach stewardship to children, not only because they're our financial future in the church, but for their own character development. So do listen to this if you're thinking of doing stewardship resources for children. Okay, then contextualized and customized. I think I've mentioned this already, but one of the main reasons we're here is to see what you're doing and to pull that together so that everybody can benefit from it. Please share with us what you're doing. We don't often get to hear about it. We hear about the programs that you're doing in the field, but we don't always hear about what resources you're producing. Please let us know. And if you're willing to share your copyrights and whatever, we could even invest. If we see something of yours that's going to work for the whole field, we would probably be willing to invest in that to produce it so that everybody can take part. Why is it important to contextualize things? You can give me an answer. Culture? Religious background.
To make it relevant.
To make it relevant. Thank you. And I'd like to add so that everybody else can learn from our unique perspective on God and the world. So if you look at I think this first, the grey one here, that edition of the magazine, I wrote an article there also about, okay, so in terms of other world religions, many of them in Africa, in the Far East, Pastor Kwan, they involve ancestor worship, and we know it's spiritualism. And these cultures are very aware of the supernatural, because it's so manifest. It's observable, it's scary. It's so observable. It's tangible. And very often the Western Christianity seems intangible to people who come into Christianity from these cultures, because they can't see the actual things happening. When you go and appease the ancestors, take a sacrifice to the ancestors, you actually see the results, and it's right there. And when a Christian comes in and explains about Jesus and prayer and how sometimes the answer is not yet, it's very hard for them to understand this. How can God be powerful if he's not answering your prayer right now? Where we can, appease approach the ancestors and get a direct answer almost. So I have a theory that stewardship and our spirit of prophecy is possibly two of our beliefs that are very, very important to present to cultures where this is the case. Stewardship, as we've heard through these presentations, is one of the most tangible ways to experience God. So if you're presenting Christianity to somebody who sees tangibility in the form of spirituality, you're going to have their attention. You're going to have their attention immediately, because stewardship helps you experience God in tangible ways. And we know how to explain that in a non-prosperity theology type of sense. So I think it's safe to do that. The other one that's a supernatural thing is the spirit of prophecy. She was a prophet. It was clearly supernatural. And I think these two things help us bridge the gap between the cultures and between the different world religions. So by all means, use stewardship in your culture in that respect, because it's going to sell Adventism very successfully. I can guarantee you that.
Is it appropriate time, since I just walked in, to make a comment or two regarding the stew pot?
John, can we I've got 4 minutes and 49 seconds left, and then they're going to open the trap door underneath
Okay.
me, and I'm going to disappear. So,
Okay.
so I would love to hear what you have to say. But I need to go and look at the website quickly. Right, and creativity. Could we please have contextualized, customized, and creative resources from the field? We need you not to take what we have, but we're hoping that you will bring back what you've done and share it with the rest of us. Please be creative. We kind of get locked into a certain way of presenting something, but God created this magnificent universe full of variety, and each one of us He created differently. Please use your individual talents to or spot people who are talented in your congregations, in your regions, and involve them in helping us present this in a creative way. And then don't forget the theology, the academic ones. Where would we be without stewardship roots? I don't know. I think we really need to continue this conversation at an academic level, so that when we want to have our students, our theology students, even our business students, all of them educated in this in stewardship, that we have appropriate material. So we have all of you, and you're all willing and able to contribute. I know that. So please contribute in an academic way. We're so grateful for Mario's doctoral dissertation as well, that we now have as reference material. I'm quickly going to go to the website in the last few minutes, and then just go through the website with you. It's a new website. It's been done in a much different way than the previous one, and I think it's user friendly. The home talks about we just have some featured things on the home page. The things we like to feature, and as you can see, we've got resources, a big block here for resources and language-specific resources. We want all the different languages. Don't think just because we're English here, we only want English resources. We want everything you have so that we can make it available worldwide. And then we advertise our app. Please go ahead and use that. Here's our daily devotional at the bottom. This is a website I think we can share with pride. That's a little bit about, our strategic plan is right there, who our team is, the world team, so you guys are there too. All about stewardship, holistic stewardship, and the department access. That if we have documents that we want you to have and not necessarily the general public, then we'll put them there, and Janetta said she'll give you a code if necessary. This is what I'm really talking about today, so I'll come back to that in a second. These are the different offering plans. This page needs to be built a little more in terms of content. The magazine, this magazine, we have it on issue.com. We have the latest editions. We have all editions on the website. And then we also have searchable articles. If you want to go into this function and search the articles, you can set which year you want to see. So let's go to 2014. We want to go to the first quarter, and we want to see categories we want to see the resources for that edition, for those editions. So these are the articles that are available that talk about resources in that magazine. So you can read about the resources we presented in that edition. So you can search sermons. David, you were asking for sermons. We've got sermons galore under the many editions from 2000. Every edition had a sermon in it. So please don't feel that you ever need to even come up with your own sermons, but please do your own sermons. But that is a very useful place. The newsletters there and certification. We've only got the North American one up there. There's lots more we need to develop in that sense. I've got 14 seconds left, but I think I'm going to take just a little bit more. And you can come and kick me out. Yes, I did. But please send us a password if we need one. Thanks. Okay, so the books are all there. I just want to quickly show you. Our books are all there. And most of them, if we don't have them, you can still write to us. If it says purchase from Advent Source, you can still write to us and get the files. But many of them have the download and read PDF right there. So if you click on that one, you'll actually go to the PDF and you can read the book. Okay. So all the books are there, the videos. So we've got, these are actual videos we have here online, and then we have video channels. I just want to take you through them. They're on the app as well. We've got the Holy Convocation material. We've got stewardship interviews. These are interviews. When we see people who are interested and they're visiting the building, we grab them into the ANN studio and we interview them. So that's where the video was with Rodney Brady. That's the 24 videos, and they're in 4 languages: English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. So please go ahead and watch. Oh no, that's the advisory from last time. These are the ones that are in the 4 languages. Stewardship spots. These were made to be used before the offering collection. in the churches. It's Erika and his family that talk about 10 different aspects of stewardship. You feel free to still use them, even in Sabbath school for kids. It's a great resource. And these are the old news clips we had. These are the stories of faith, the testimonies that I was telling you about. I'll just highlight one or two more things. The tithe and offerings readings, they're all there. And don't think they only need to be used for tithe and offerings readings. These are people who have put in great thought into these little snippets. You can use them for anything else. Feel free to reproduce them, publish them in any other format. The Holy Convocation materials are all there. Marcus already showed you that. The commitment card is there, the new one. I see some people were still using the old one, and that's fine, but the new one's there too. Stewardship Sabbath materials, they're right there. The one set documents that are interesting that refer to developments in stewardship. The presentations, some of our presentations will be there in future, the PowerPoint presentations. That's just a catalog, language-specific resources, resources from world divisions. Let's see what's in there right now. We have a few. If your division is not there, please send us something. These are at least links to the websites. If you don't have materials you want to send us, at least send us your website link so that we can refer people to you. Some people may land on our website, but they're from your part of the world, then we'd prefer to send them to your website.
Penny, if
Okay.
I can just say on your website, under the About, where you go to World Team, that link is not working.
The departmental
Now,
access
where it says World Team,
there.
right there, if you click on that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
It doesn't mean that we do not have a world team.
I thought
We
that
have a
was-
world team.
Isn't that a blizzard of snow in Battle Creek?
It could be. But we'll go with that story, John. Okay, copyright and reprint information. Our strategic plans there. I think that's probably all I have to say. The main thing I want to say is please produce resources for your region of the world. Customized, contextualized, and creative. I'm probably going to remember things I really should have said, but my time's out anyway.
The new website's great.
Thank you.